Hi, everyone. I am Katanda James, Head of Education and Community here at Main Cut. I am the co host for our Main Cut podcast, and I have my lovely co host, Jade, with me today. And the topic we will be speaking on is the effects that menopause or perimenopause can have on your hair, your scalp, your skin, but mainly the hair. So, you may or may not have heard much about this topic. I feel like it's been buzzing here lately, the past few months, couple months. I've actually sat in on a couple lives speaking about, you know, perimenopausal hair. They were calling it menopausal hair. I just like to say the effects that menopause can have on the hair. Just because it's not menopausal hair. It's just menopause is something that your body goes through. Perimenopause is something that your body goes through. So it does affect the hair, as does, you know, a lot of things affect the hair. The types of medications that you're taking can affect the hair and the scalp. Your lifestyle can affect your hair and your scalp. So this is just one of those things. However, with perimenopause and menopause, it does in particularly affect the microbiome. And so it's happening on the inside, and it's a natural thing that happens. Like you can't avoid it. You can't fight it. You can anticipate it. Don't dread it. Don't be afraid. But this is one of those things, unfortunately, or fortunately for us women, it is going to happen. It's going to happen. And if it doesn't happen, then something else happened that, that you probably didn't want to happen. So this is our topic today. I just want to start off by saying there are a lot of like myths or a lot of conversations that aren't had as well. So there are some things that you can take it with a grain of salt, but also there are things that happens to your hair and your scalp, as well as other things that go on in your body when you are perimenopausal and menopausal that no one's speaking about. And one of those things is the effect that it has on your hair and the hair loss that you may experience when you're in those stages of life. I feel like it's a conversation that people are afraid to delve into.
Yeah, I feel like menopause in general is something that it's one of those things where everybody knows it's an inevitable thing that will happen, but nobody really talks about it until they're either just experiencing the signs of, oh, it's possibly coming, or they're actually in it. Those are the only two times that I ever see people really talk about menopause, but not like long before it happens. So I'm not gonna lie, guys, I'm full of questions because I just have like a ton of questions about. We talk about the physical experiences that people go through when they're going through menopause, hot flushes and sometimes mood changes,
Yeah.
but I don't think there's a lot of people that talk about, okay, this can happen to your skin or this could happen to your hair. There's not that kind of like isolated information. A lot of it is very general. Um, so yeah, I've described myself as like very curious to to learn more about this because I just think it's a kind of conversation that people should be having. Um, but for some reason we don't. It's a bit like well, people kind of publicly avoid conversations about periods, not that periods aren't spoken on. But yeah, I feel like it falls into a similar category.
I think it does. And always been one that has been very outspoken about those things because it's a natural thing. Like, why are we not talking about it? But I absolutely agree. I hear more about the hot flashes and the night sweats,
Mm,
the mood swings. You know, you're crying tears and you really don't know why, or you're, happy one minute and then the next minute you're feeling rather down and low. I do
mm,
get those conversations. I think this is as it relates to your hair. I do think it's a conversation that you could bring up with your stylist if you have a stylist. But if you don't have a hairstylist, then possibly your dermatologist if you visit a
Mm.
dermatologist, or even let's say your primary care physician, um, or your therapist. It's just one of those things because hair loss can really bring us down, and it's not a happy thing. It's not something that we look forward to. It doesn't happen in the same ways as it happens to one person versus the next, but it does and it can happen. So some of the issues as it relates to hair and scalp, you can experience hair loss, which is probably going to be more of like an excessive hair loss. So lots of hair shedding, not your average 50 to 100 hairs per day. It's
Mm.
you could possibly experience a lot of hair fall. And that can be scary. It can be traumatizing. With that, you can become stressed out. And now, what happens when you're stressed out? It increases the hair fall. So now you're losing a lot more hair. The other things that can happen, which again is not talked about often enough, your skin gets drier. And just I think you have, I don't know why that is, but your skin gets drier. You We won't get into those things, but other things get drier too. So just overall, overall, you're experiencing more dryness. And so, what we know about dryness as it relates to the hair and the skin is dryness can in your hair, like on your strands, it could cause breakage, it could cause splitting of the ends. But on your scalp, it could cause like flakiness to the scalp. It can also cause other conditions or skin conditions that is just, a little more than actual flakiness of the scalp or dry scalp. And those things, when the scalp is, scaly, it's not hydrated, it doesn't retain the moisture, you can then start seeing more hair shedding. So this is why we should pay more attention to this. I feel like, I don't know, just have the conversation with your hairstylist first and foremost. Anytime you're experiencing things like with your hair, your scalp, I think the first course of action could be seeing or speaking to your hairstylist about it if you actually have one that you visit regularly and that knows your hair and knows your scalp. Because the other thing that happens too is the texture of your hair can change.
Yeah. Question: do we know, like, what is like the scientific reason behind why people go through hair loss when they're going through menopause?
It's the imbalance of the hormones.
Oh,
So
okay.
menopause and perimenopause is basically your hormones are imbalanced. They're not your estrogen levels versus your testosterone levels and then your other levels. They're not equally balanced. So if you have a heightened area, what happens is your estrogen levels go down. And so however that, works throughout your body and again the microbiome, it accelerates or it creates hair loss. And you see it more so on your scalp, but you'll also see it in other areas on your body where you grow hair, like under your arms. You'll see that, it
Mm,
starts to get less and less and less, which we love less hair under the arms, so we don't have to shave as much. Also on the legs and then other areas. But when it's on your hair on your head, you're like, I
mm,
don't want to lose this hair. This is like the hair that I want to keep. You can
mm,
also start seeing it in your eyelashes, your eyebrows.
interesting.
Um, I feel like we, especially women, we pay more attention to the hair that grows from our scalp on our heads rather than, those other areas. And then those other areas, most of them, we don't want hair there anyway. So that's actually a good thing. But then when it's
Mm,
your hair in your head, it's not. The imbalance of the hormones. I mean, you could experience this too if you have thyroid issues.
mm,
Or if you're lacking, like you're deficient in certain minerals and vitamins, then
Mm,
you could also experience that. And then being that your hormones are in balance, it does cause a lot of times deficiencies in those other things because your body's not regulating, or your body's not retaining, your
mm,
body's not absorbing those minerals and those vitamins as it should. So it's sort of like you're losing those, and it's not being fortified in the way that it should.
mm,
I feel like when it comes to hair texture, and I've started to experience some of this, and it's because, things are happening in your body, but you're we have to think of our not this hair, the strands that we see.
mm,
That's the hair that we love, but we think about our hair follicle, and that's where all the good things are happening in the hair follicle. So your hair follicle is like the foundation of this hair, the strands that grow out. And if we're imbalanced throughout, any areas of our bodies, chemically imbalanced, hormonally imbalanced,
mm,
then your follicles aren't necessarily nourished as it should. It is, unfortunately, your hair follicles age too.
yeah.
And it's just a lot. And so we need to make sure that we're staying educated, that we are taking supplements if we are noticing where we may or may not be deficient in some areas. We definitely have to, make some lifestyle changes. A lot of times we have to eat a little differently. We have to maybe change our workout, the ways that we're working out. We have to make sure that we're massaging the scalp
Mm,
and getting that circulation pumping and flowing to that hair follicle. Because again, it's inevitable. It's inevitable. It's gonna happen. But there are
mm,
things that we can do to I guess, slow down the effects that we actually see, or
mm.
to sort of put it at bay. I mean, we're not fighting against it, but we do want to be like, hey, hold up, menopause, you're not going to take my hair. These are the things that I'm going to do to keep the hair on my head.
Yeah, no, I think that's a really good point that a lot of it might not, I mean, like you said, you can't stop menopause, it's something that will happen, but what you can do is you can say, okay, how can I look after my hair in the best way possible so that not all of these effects feel like they're taking my hair away. And it's interesting because our hair changes as we get older anyway. Like, take menopause out of the equation, and as we age, our hair does start to like thin. You know, our hair starts to thin. We might even see a little bit more shedding. But when people go through menopause, they can just experience more of that. So it's just, I think, something to be aware of, so that when the time comes, people aren't in a shock. Because I think a lot of the time, again, because we don't talk about it, people are prepared to experience the hot flashes, some mood swings, but not necessarily expecting, "Oh, my hair and my skin's also going to change. And these are the things that might happen. So if they do happen, you're at least mentally prepared for it." I think a lot of it is people end up being knocked sideways because they're not expecting it. So when it does happen, it's like, oh, I didn't know that this could be a thing when I go through menopause.
I feel like, so we do, I guess now, since we're hearing more conversations about it, it's one of those things that I don't want to say expect this, because
Mm,
again, it affects everyone differently, or it affects everyone differently, and so, but it is something that if we are aware, if we are knowledgeable about it, we can anticipate that
mm,
this could possibly happen. But then having these things in place that could help us again put it at bay.
mm,
I um I feel like it's people don't like to talk about hair loss. Like, they don't like to share that part of it. I mean, they do all the things. Oh my gosh, I have night sweats. I'm hot flash. And I found that my friends have refrained from talking about the hair loss until I maybe possibly brought it up. And they're like, oh yeah, I have been experiencing hair loss. And so with me, myself, I'll share my personal journey here. I It was a little tricky because I had COVID, and the first time I had COVID, I experienced COVID hair, which excessive hair loss, like scary
Oh.
amounts of hair loss. And that's like one of the long-term side effects of COVID. It doesn't happen while you're sick and laying in the bed forever. It happens months down the road and you're like, what is going
Mm.
on? But that's what that is. And I've actually had it twice. So the first time, the hair, oh, I could stand to lose a few extra strands. It's okay. Second time I got COVID, I was like, okay, this hair is getting thinner and thinner. I don't have the hair
Mm.
that I had last year when I had COVID to lose. But
Mm.
then I had to stop and think, especially after going to visit my GYN and all of that. She's like, Katana, you're probably in perimenopause. And you don't think of that
Mm.
because we think of menopause as you don't have periods. Well, this is actually happening leading up to the point where you don't have periods, which actually then puts you in full on menopause.
Yeah.
So, perimenopause can also cause the hair loss because your hormones are all over the place. You're having periods, you're not having periods. You think you're done, the period
Mm.
comes back. You're spotting and you're like, oh, this is the period I should have had when I was 17 versus those other periods because it's like 2 days now and you're loving it.
Mm.
And cramps and there's no like leading up to having the period because
Mm.
also the symptoms of perimenopause and menopause show up as like period PMS.
Right.
So it's also tricky. However, when you're having periods and your PMS, in addition to some people have PCOS, they could experience hair loss too. So
Mm.
it's so many things that have the same effect that necessarily aren't the same root cause, but they
Yeah.
look the same as in the results. And so the other thing is you're not sleeping at night
Mm.
through the night because you're having the night sweats. You are having the hot flashes. You're burning up hot like it's inferno, and then you're freezing cold like you're in the Antarctic. So
Mm.
it's all over the place. The thing about at night, which is why not only when you're in perimenopause or menopause, we need to get our proper rest at night, not during the day. I feel bad for those people that work third shift because they never, their bodies never get to do what they're supposed to do. At night
Mm.
is when all of your cells regenerate. So,
Right.
and I don't know why it's that way, how our body is on that clock where I could be sleeping during the day, but my body knows it's not nighttime. So it's not
Mm.
regenerating the cells. So when you're not sleeping through the night, when you're perimenopausal or menopausal, then you're missing out on the cell regeneration too, which actually then affects the hair follicle.
Right.
So it's a whole lot. I don't think I I could ever be educated enough. I don't think even after I go through perimenopause and then hit menopause, I will still feel like there's a lot that I don't know because there are things like my scalp has become extremely itchy. And I don't have an itchy scalp. I have in the past have had like acquired or developed like an allergy. I won't even say an allergy, a sensitivity to hair color at one point.
Oh.
But then I got past that and now I can use hair color. But it's like if I don't shampoo my hair like between 6 and 10 days, I'm doomed. The scalp is too itchy. It feels like ants are crawling. The
Oh.
scalp is getting flaky. It's gonna be a mess. With that, when your scalp's not healthy, then you lose more hair. So I have been shampooing my hair every 7 days because that's one of the things I've been experiencing through my journey in perimenopause. So there are things
Mm.
that you can do. Drinking tons of water because everything is dry now.
Mm. Mm.
Like you need to drink more than your eight ounce glasses. You need to probably be on the bandwagon of the gallon water. And I will tell you, I've been on the I'm not now, I fell off, but I have been in on various occasions on the bandwagon of drinking a gallon of water. And it is absolutely amazing. You feel energetic, you're not dry in
Mm.
any way. You are properly hydrated. It helps you to like your body to like digest your food better. It's just it's just one of those things that we need to drink more of is water, and we usually don't drink enough. All I
Mm.
drink is water. I don't drink because that can cause a whole other thing. I don't drink soda. I don't really drink juice. Um, I have to probably get sick to drink juice, unless it's like a green juice that I'm juicing or celery juice or something like that. But like a good juicy juice, I don't drink. With all the sugar and stuff, I don't drink that. So water actually helps a whole lot too, because part of that, if you're getting drier because of this, water is gonna help to put that at bay. Like you're stay hydrated. So not sure, Jade, if I have all the answers either. I'm still doing my research. I'm still asking all the questions. Asking all the questions my GYN, talking to my friends. I actually have a baggie. Well, I started this last year, when I
Mm.
started to have hair shedding after the second time of having COVID, because I just wanted to see how much hair. And that bag from last year is busting out at the seams.
Oh,
And I feel
interesting.
like it was the COVID hair, but also it was me and because I don't know how long it takes to lead up to perimenopause and then menopause. But before that, I don't think I was showing any signs of being perimenopausal. I've
Right,
never gone to any checkup and they're like, hey, you're in perimenopausal. But when I went last year, they're like, yes, because my period started to fluctuate. I was having that hair loss. I talked to her about that. She did say that, yeah, that could be caused by the COVID, but also it could actually, be accelerated, or you could be experiencing more of that this time because you are perimenopausal and you weren't the last time.
right.
So there's just a lot. There's a lot to talk
Yeah.
about, discuss, and to go through.
I mean, I think sometimes the best way to get some information anyway, especially when it's something that you're thinking about, or it's like at that point in my life, I want to at least kind of have an idea of what I could go through. One, it really, like you said, it serves when people talk to each other, because that's often when you hear bits and pieces from friends or family and like, oh, okay, I didn't know that was a thing. I didn't know that was that's something that you could go through. And for those that are going through it, then that creates a safe space for them to talk about it, because we just don't. It feels like there aren't those spaces for whatever reason that people feel comfortable talking about what they're going through with menopause, and they deserve to have that support. Um, and then yeah, then it's like a lot of it is then just speaking to specialists, right?
Yeah.
Once you once you have a chance to speak to people that have been through it or going through it, that's one perspective. Then it's like, okay, well, how do things like my diet play a role in making this feel as painless as possible?
Yes.
It doesn't mean that you have to be up at the crack of dawn every day making a smoothie, but it does mean that probably help. But it it's going to require like some adjusting too.
Yes.
And as long as you're prepared to make the adjustments and be like, okay, cool, I can up my water intake by like I can equal that, you know, equal whatever is expected of me, and or I need to actually start eating more healthier breakfasts because maybe
Beans.
yeah, or having one of every color on your plate, that kind of thing. It's just when you can make those decisions and say, oh, okay, these are the changes that I can make and that I'm willing to make, makes your life a lot easier. Um, and it doesn't stop the symptoms from happening. I guess it reduces the severity of them, and
Yeah.
maybe like it slows some of them down, but it definitely wouldn't just completely up and stop them.
Yes. That's the thing. Eating leafy greens, because leafy greens are the greens that contain more water. So these are the vegetables that contain more water. So cucumbers and lettuce and um like your fruits.
Mm,
So pineapple is a really good one because it's really
yeah.
great for hydration.
Mm,
Aloe is, there are things that you can actually eat. And if you don't like the taste of these things, I feel like whipping them up in a smoothie is a good idea, because it sort of, kind of I guess changes the flavor a bit, especially where you're mixing it with other things. Celery is a really good one because it actually also helps to detox. So it's pushing out those bad things. So you're able to absorb more of the good things. I am not a celery eater, but
Yeah.
I will tell you, I have really grown to love celery juice. Like the strings in celery. I just never really liked the flavor. I got the idea, the concept. Like I use celery seed when I'm cooking, but that's a little different.
Okay.
So I have been, going through this and having some other issues like thyroid issues, and celery is really good for that.
Interesting.
I've learned to love celery juice. It's like you're drinking your salad. It tastes like you're drinking. And it's already, like nice and wet, so you don't have to add the bad salad dressing. It's full of water.
Ah,
Um, so yeah, those are the things. Just eating a little more of those or adding a little more of those, putting like cucumber in your water or putting even strawberries in your water,
mm,
pineapples in your water. Watermelon is amazing for
okay.
dehydration. It's like the top hydrate.
Interesting. Yeah. No, I was just gonna say it's interesting how I mean diet plays such a huge role in hair care anyway. Even if again, if you take menopause out of the equation, and if you look at people that want to focus on growing like really healthy, well looked after hair, how much water you're drinking, what you know, how you've set up your diet, all of that, the sleep that you're getting or not getting, um, that all adds up to what's happening with your hair. And I
Yeah,
think a lot of the time there's this focus on, oh, what products do I need to use?
yeah,
Like how can I style my hair in a way that is less likely to damage it? And that's great. Like we do all need to do that thinking, but actually if we got into healthier habits sooner,
yeah.
then you'd be in a position where, okay, it's not just me, there's like 20, 30, you know, sorry, my brain just completely did a blank there. Literally mid sentence. I was like, what was the beginning of this and the end?
Okay, that's a sign. Brain fog is a sign of perimenopause and menopause.
I think for me, this is actually like a sleep issue.
Yeah.
So it's me preaching about sleep, and I think I had about 5 hours, and that's not enough.
Well,
So
5 hours is not enough, but it is better than none. And as long as you got those 5 hours at night, you're doing good.
yeah, it was at night. Yes, it was definitely at night. But I definitely did not get enough sleep. So yeah, sorry guys, that brain left my thought. That thought left my brain as quickly as it came in. So I'll try
Yeah.
and come back to it.
So yeah, that's the thing. Getting proper sleep is something that
Mm,
you definitely need in perimenopause. Well, just in life in general, but especially when you're menopausal or in perimenopause, because your hormones your hormones affect so much. It affects your mood,
mm.
it affects like the way that you feel, it affects, you physically,
Affects how
and
you communicate with people.
affects how you communicate, because if you're popping off at people, it's probably because your hormones
Yeah.
didn't get enough sleep, or your hormones are imbalanced and you're extremely But it really does make a difference. It's just amazing how it could change so much. I also feel like the porosity of my hair has changed.
Oh, interesting.
And that's something that I do need to do more research on, because why did it change the porosity of my hair? But my hair now, I feel like now my hair I used to be medium porosity. Um, when I was younger, before anything ever touched my hair, I was low porosity, of course.
Mm,
But now I feel like I'm high porosity, and that could explain it, because high porosity, you have a hard time retaining moisture in your hair.
yeah.
So, I mean, if everything's dry, I guess my hair done dried out too. So we're gonna do something about that. I can't have dry hair. Like I
Yeah.
can't have dry anything. So that's one of the things. So I think that that could possibly be the reason why your porosity changes too. I feel like the texture, because the porosity has changed, it has affected. Like my hair is a little more frizzy now, which I appreciate and I embrace because I like volume. And if I'm losing hair, having a little frizz, more volume makes me look like I have more hair. So that's working
Oh, okay.
in my favor. That's working in my favor. But for those of you that want super like defined curls, I'm not that girl. I like a lived in look. Then that could possibly be something that you may not embrace. But yeah, there's a lot going on with perimenopause and menopause in general. Just ask that you guys just take care of yourselves anyway. Drink all the
Yeah.
water, eat all the good things,
Mm.
um,
Get all the sleep.
get all the sleep. So I am, well, I don't want to, I am a napper. I love a
Mm,
good nap. So I do set out to get all of my rest at night.
mm,
However, it has gotten a little challenging because of things that I'm experiencing at night. That's because of this topic that we're speaking of. Um, so I do catch a good nap. But even if you're catching a cat nap, 15 minutes, like
mm,
they will tell you if you get 8 hours of sleep, there's some crazy statistic, and don't quote me on this, but if you get 8 hours of sleep, it will lengthen your life however long. So if we're getting the proper rest, it gives us longer life.
mm,
Which kind of seems strange because you're like, okay, if I'm sleeping those hours and those minutes away, I'm losing life because we don't get that time back, but it will lengthen your life. Having proper rest is like a big thing for a lot of things. And again, that cell regeneration for your skin, but also your hair follicles, and other organs within your body. They have to, it's like your body has to rest and shut down so that it can do what it needs to do. Sort of like
mm.
a machine. You can't
Yeah.
run the machine 24/7, 365 and think that it's going to keep running fluidly. It's not.
No. And I think, yeah, again, there's a lot of, I know a lot of focus is on hair length, and hair length is just about retention. And like, when it comes to like premenopausal or menopausal hair, when people are going through that process, not to say that length shouldn't be something that you focus on, but definitely a shift of focus to the health of your hair, to say, okay, is my hair actually really healthy right now, or is there some work to do? I think that that shift in priority probably serves people much better when they get to that stage, because that's going to help you make better decisions. If you're thinking, is my hair healthy? Then you will be thinking, have I had enough water? You will
Yeah.
be thinking, have I had enough sleep? Have I, like, did I buy like some vitamins to like supplement the the things that I don't naturally do? Am I eating better? Am I going out and getting fresh air? Am I doing my exercise? So you will ask more of the right questions if you're focusing on the health of your hair versus just like the pure I say not the cosmetics, like the pure aesthetics of your hair, which is like length, even like the tightness of your curls. In some ways, that is like an aesthetic thing, although it can indicate whether your curls are healthy. But yeah,
Yeah. That's more of like a aesthetic, I think.
yeah,
I feel like people feel like, well, some people feel like if their curls are more defined, that, it's they're more controlled. But
mm,
who said we needed to control our curls? These are our curls. Why do we have to control them? Let them do what they're gonna do. The one thing that I thought about when you were speaking, to your point, we both had to have on head wraps
yeah.
today. You probably want to lay back on your head wraps because we do need the oxygen to get to our hair follicles.
Oh,
So
interesting.
we need the oxygen there, especially a lot of times with some protective styles. If
Mm,
you're, say, for instance, you have a braid down and you're wearing a lace front or something. Nothing against lace fronts, but that's just an example where your scalp is not really exposed. You
mm,
Oxygen needs to get to those hair follicles in order for those hair follicles to thrive. And oxygen to the hair follicle promotes circulation.
mm,
So blood flow and blood circulation. So I am a person, I love when I'm in the house, guys, my bonnet. If I'm not working on a call, a bonnet because I'm like, why am I going to unleash these curls when I can keep them underneath this bonnet and not have to worry about them? But I have like sort of like scaled back on my bonnet wearing because I need to get that oxygen to the scalp. So
Mm.
today I'm wearing this head wrap. My hair is a mess. I will kind of lay back on that. Jade doesn't wear hers often either. So, but that's one of the things I feel like people were covering up because of protective styles and
Mm.
things. We're covering up our hair and our scalp is not exposed to the fresh air, like you were saying. So it's not getting any oxygen, and that will hinder hair growth as well.
Yeah, I hadn't thought of it as your scalp not getting enough oxygen because when I don't have my hair in braids, I just have a little routine where it's like wash day, plait my hair, put the head wrap on for a week, then braid out for a week, and then I go through it all over again. So it's like it's that little routine that makes it easy for me to manage my hair. But again, it's good for people to consider, oh, actually, maybe having my hair in a head wrap for a whole week
Yeah,
isn't actually like the best thing for my scalp.
yeah,
And a lot of the time we make these decisions for convenience sake, right? But convenience isn't necessarily, again, it's not necessarily the shouldn't be like the barometer for all of your decisions, especially when it comes to your hair. I can probably get away with this now, but by the time I get to menopausal age, can I have my hair in a head wrap for a whole week? I might not be able to do that at that point.
yeah.
Um,
I mean, you could. I just wouldn't advise it. But that's exactly what I'm saying. So you and your head wrap is like me and my bonnet. Oh. Yeah. But I feel like it is. It is for convenience. For me, it's like I want to make sure my hair is under the bonnet. I actually wear a bonnet
mm,
and a scarf and then put the bonnet on over the top. But now I've started to just take it off while I'm in the house. But it's
mm,
more convenient and easier. And if no one's seeing you, like I'm not going outside, guys, with a bonnet. So don't get it wrong. Don't get it twisted. I am not a girly that goes outside in my bonnet. I actually hate that actually, but
mm,
so but don't do that. But if you're in the house, it's fine. Sometimes I take like if I have to run to the mailbox, I still take my bonnet off because I'm like, I don't know who I might run into going to.
mm,
I want them seeing me with this bonnet on, and it's just one of those things that you don't really think about. The way that I started to think about it actually resonated with me is when I was much younger, the little old grannies used to wear their wigs. And my grandmother my grandmother didn't wear a wig, guys. But she would have a lot to say about the little old ladies. Could be her friends, could be the next door neighbor, the lady up the street, the block, wherever. And she'd be like, that's why she don't have no hair because she wearing that wig all the time. To be like, Graham. And she's like, I'm telling you, she needs to let her hair out. And now just me being, more educated in this hair loss
mm.
practitioner, hairstylist of many years. Yeah, you can't be wearing that wig 24/7 because like my grandmother said, that's why you don't have no hair. So one of the reasons why you don't have no hair. We gotta let the oxygen. We need oxygen to breathe. Our follicles need oxygen to thrive. Our
Yeah,
skin needs oxygen. Like we need the oxygen. So we have to
yeah.
expose our scalp to the environment.
That's again, that's really interesting when you think about it, because there can be people who have been wearing wigs and weaves for like years and years and years before they even get to menopause. So again, it's like it's their go-to, it's just what they've done. And it's understanding that when you get there, you may have to change some things in
Yeah.
order to make sure that your hair stays healthy, to make sure that your hair continues to grow in the way that you want it to grow, or looks the way that you want it to look. It's I think a lot of it is kind of understanding. It's like as you get older and you might still go to the gym and do sports and be super active, but there's an element of, oh, my body isn't recovering as quickly as it did when I was 15. You know, you would be able to, or I don't know about anybody else, but when I was like 15, 16 and I do track and field, I was like, I could have a really hard training session back to back. So I could have a hard training session on like a Tuesday, another hard one on a Wednesday, and I'd be fine. It
Yeah.
wouldn't be that big a deal. Like I feel sore, but it wouldn't be the end of me. Ask me to do that now, I beg you, because I I
Well,
couldn't do two back to back days of like that kind of intense exercise now. And it doesn't mean that I can't do intense exercise. It just means I can't do it 2 days in a row. And
yeah.
it's fine to say do it on a Tuesday and a Thursday and not a Tuesday and a Wednesday. It's okay to say that. And I think we just have to make those decisions, those kind of like lifestyle decisions about our hair as well. And say, my hair is at a stage where I'm going to have to switch up the routine.
Yeah. I agree. One of the things too is like the seasons, the change in seasons.
Mm,
If you're in an area or a climate that actually experiences multiple seasons, then
yes.
that makes a big difference too. Now, in the winter time, it could be a good idea to keep your natural hair covered because of the harsh, you know, winds and the
Mm,
cold air is causing even more dryness. So it could be a good idea to keep it covered in that sense, but not 24/7. Um, the other thing is in summer where, you have humidity and moisture in the air if you live in a climate that has that. Your hair and your skin, but also your scalp attracts moisture from the environment. So that's
mm,
how it allows, like, you don't have to work so hard to replenish the moisture or the hydration in those environments in those seasons.
mm,
It's like when you go to an island, it's really funny. So the very first time I went to Mexico, I was like, my hair won't dry because it's so humid out here. I'm right
mm.
next to the water. Like, my hair is not going to dry, and that was the best hair that I ever had. It was instantly, it like retained all the water.
Mm, mm,
So those are the things that we have to think about, like the environment. We attract, there are some bad things, some free radicals and some bad like aggressors in the environment that we really don't want on our skin or hair, but we can't help that. However, you're actually blocking the good of those,
mm,
elements when you are keeping your hair consistently covered up. Again, but if you're in a harsh place of winter like a Chicago or like a, I don't know, Antarctic, wherever you guys are, South or North Pole, you're gonna have issues. Keep that hair covered up in the winter. Other than that, you need to expose your hair to, you know, to the air.
mm. No, you need that. You need the environment around you. Your hair will thank you for it. It will thank you for it
Yeah.
10 times over, especially when you're going through like the change of premenopause and menopause.
Yeah.
But would love to know what questions you guys have about premenopausal or menopausal hair. We'd love to know what questions you have, if any, or if some people have already been through it or are going through it now. Would love to know like what your experiences were, because that will help somebody. And again, in a world where people don't talk about this enough, that that one, oh yeah, I had this experience and this is how I dealt with it, that one comment could be the world to somebody else who's either going through it or wants to feel like they can semi prepare themselves for when they do go through it. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I would just say if you have any particular questions, if you have any experiences, please share them in the comments, because I think that would be great for everybody to like learn from.
Yes, I totally agree. I would like to have you guys share like some, I guess, remedies that you have that could possibly help me. There's one that I like to share. There's I don't even know. I feel like it's a grain, maybe. I think so. But it's called psyllium husk. And psyllium husk actually is really good for your thyroid. So being your thyroid, it's good for balancing your hormones. So actually, my niece told me about this, and I did my research, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's highly recommended for the thyroid issues that I am experiencing, but also for balancing the hormones when you're, could be an actual remedy for balancing your hormones as you're in perimenopause and menopause. And I just
Mm,
mix a little, it doesn't taste good. The one that I have, there's different forms of it, but I have an actual psyllium husk and I just throw it in my smoothie. So if you
okay.
like ever use flaxseed or chia seed, something like that in your smoothie, it kind of has that consistency. You just throw it in your smoothie because it people are drinking it in water, and I don't know how they ever get it down, but it's really thick and can be kind of coarse. So I would recommend doing research on that. That's one of the things that I have recently implemented. So maybe if we jump into this topic again, I will have some feedback to let you guys know how it's working. But yeah, share all the things about this topic, or if you have any hair loss questions in general. I am a hair loss practitioner, so I really like to get into those things. Also, if you're in an area and you're seeing a hairstylist or your dermatologist and you haven't seen, any great, I don't know, results in the treatments that you're on, then possibly see a trichologist in your
Mhm.
area because red light therapy is really good for growing hair. That's that's the one thing that I can say will actually grow your hair. This is the red light therapy. So
Okay, cool. Well, no, I think that's it's been a good conversation to have. I hope it's been helpful for other people who've had similar questions or thoughts or feelings about menopause and different things that we can do to, like I said, prepare ourselves for going through it or help get through it as
yes,
as you go through the change. Um, Please leave thoughts and comments in thoughts and experiences in the comment section. And also, like I said, people, we don't want to have to kick anyone out of comments. Please be kind. Please.
yes,
If somebody's experience is not your experience, that doesn't make them wrong. It just means it wasn't your experience, and that's totally fine. So yeah, I think that's everything from us. But again, a huge thank you to everyone who's listened all the way through. Let us know if there are any other topics you want us to cover.
yes.
Tanda, don't know if there's anything else you want to share before we wrap up.
Just one thing I would like to say again, we just jumped into this topic because it is something that all of us, if we're women, will experience at some point in our life. You may not be as close to the journey as others, but just know that it's coming. And again, every person, it affects everyone differently, and every remedy may not be the remedy for someone else. I am not an expert in this topic. I am not a doctor. I am not a nurse. I'm
Mm,
just a hairstylist. So please, if there are some things that we may have mentioned that didn't work for you or that you think is absolutely crazy, again, just be kind, be nice. And we're just all here to share information so that, it's we're helping one person at a time in this menopausal journey. So that's all I have. Thank you, Jade, so much for jumping in on this topic. And we'll see you guys soon.
yeah, we'll see you on the next episode.